Horror fans, we're eating good this year. Hi everybody, Anthony here from Awesome Anthony Productions, and today I'm going to give you my review of one of the craziest, least predictable movies I've seen in a very long time, the new horror movie. But before I dive into it, please go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell so that you never miss a new reviewer short. You can also find links to my Instagram and TikTok in the description below. Let's get into it. If you saw my Black Phone review, you know that I think that this is one of the best eras for horror in a long time.
Horror has really been in a renaissance in the last several years.
That being said, Barbarian is one of the best horror movies I've seen all year, and it probably is going to make my top 10. Not only does it take horror in many of its subgenres in surprising directions while telling an unconventionally structured story, but the marketing and trailer for this film did an amazing job at piquing interest while withholding the reveal of what's actually in the basement of that house, along with the many twists and turns that are found throughout this movie. Unfortunately though, since that reveal comes about halfway through the film, there's only so much I'm going to be able to say without going into spoiler territory, especially considering that the trailer only covers like the first fucking half hour. But I'll cover what I can without giving anything away. Barbarian kicks off with Tess, played by Georgina Campbell, arriving at an Airbnb in a pretty rough part of Detroit. She's there for an interview and all she really wants to do is just get there, get out of the rain, go inside and sleep. But when she walks up to the house, enters the code for the key and sees that there's no key there, she realizes that there's somebody already in there.
Yeah.
Keith, played by Bill Skarsgard, who you may recognize from a couple little horror movies that came out a few years ago. So yeah, Tess arrives at her Airbnb and there's already somebody in there. But after they chat and they both kind of understand the situation, Keith invites Tess out of the rain so that they can figure out what the hell is going on, and she reluctantly agrees to enter the strange home with a random man in it that she's never met before in the middle of the night.
Now you up! Now you up! Now you up! Mr. President, will you please be quiet? Suck my presidential...
Quick fun fact, Abraham Lincoln here is actually Zach Kreger from The Whitest Kids You Know, rest in peace Trevor Moore, and he is the director and writer of this movie. I'll talk more about him later, I just wanted to bring him up because I love seeing people go from comedy to becoming horror icons like Jordan Peele. Anyway, Tess enters the house with Keith, and I know exactly what you're thinking at this point. Is she fucking stupid? What idiot, a woman nonetheless, willingly enters a random house in the middle of the night and basically in the middle of nowhere with a strange man inside that's claiming that he also is renting this Airbnb. She's just asking to get violated, kidnapped, or killed, right? This is already where I want to give the movie some credit because the script isn't that stupid. Yes, the trailers made it look like Tess just made a really stupid decision and decided to stay in the house with a random guy with no second thought to it, and that she was just another horror movie character that just made stupid decisions to get the plot going. But Kreger actually does what he can to make this situation plausible, to an extent, while throwing in some sharp and relevant observations about the role of men and women in today's society.
I don't know if you got a great look at this neighborhood, but I don't think you should be out there by yourself.
That actually continue throughout the rest of the film and are only accentuated when Justin Long's character shows up. So anyway, Tess enters the home, her and Keith get to talking, figuring out their options, and the justifications for her staying start to pop up and show you that this really isn't that dumb of a script. Number one, they both rented the house in a very legit way. They just did it from different rental companies.
Yeah, I'm renting this place.
No, I booked it a month ago.
Number two, they show each other the confirmation emails and confirmation numbers proving that they were both actually supposed to be there. And number three, Tess actually calls around and looks for a hotel room, but there's a convention in town and everything's booked up. Other conversations are had at that point that give even more reasons for her to stay, so she basically ends up stuck there, but she makes it very clear that she's uncomfortable and she's convinced that Keith could be a murderer or something. And with Bill Skarsgard playing the role, you never know. Honestly, he was the perfect choice for Keith. He's polite, he's funny, he's actually a bit charming, but his semi-forceful, I'm the gentleman so I'm gonna do everything for you and make sure you don't lift a finger attitude, combined with his awkward lankiness and those huge eyes, leave you feeling just a little uneasy and wondering what he might do, just like Tess. But she keeps her wits around her, and she and Keith actually end up talking and hitting it off. And they enjoy each other's company in some scenes that would actually be at home in a romantic comedy.
I thought you wouldn't want any if you didn't see me open it, so I waited.
I'm good.
So she just locks the door and goes to sleep. That's not before waking up in the middle of the night with the door open. And then a couple weird things go on, but she just kind of forgets about it and goes back to bed. And it's there that the movie goes from a little eerie with some romantic comedy in it to an exercise in some of the most effective tension building, like butthole clenching tension, especially when Tess ends up locked in the basement while she's looking for toilet paper and discovers a rope that opens up a secret tunnel. Tess understandably has no desire whatsoever to go down there, but she explores and finds something kind of creepy, so she begs Keith to go check it out. And that is where the tension that has been masterfully building itself up over the course of the first act builds and builds even more up to a hell of a reveal that quickly raises the stakes and brings the horror right to the forefront before cutting to a sunny beachside and introducing Justin Long's character. Justin Long's character is named AJ, and he's a TV director that's unfortunately been accused of rape by a star on the show he worked on and is literally losing everything because of it. Again, I have to give it up to Crager for his writing, because the film takes a very honest and objective approach to sexual assault allegations and how they impact the accused, especially in the post-Me Too era. But because of this situation, AJ is forced to liquidate his rental properties in Michigan. See where this is going? So yeah, AJ ends up at the house on Barbary Street, making himself a barbarian, if you will, to clean it up and sell it, eventually working his way down to the basement, its hidden passage, and the horrors that await.
Hello?
That's really all I can say without going into spoilers, unfortunately. So if you want to know the absolutely insane places the film goes after this, you should definitely go check it out. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, I fucking love this movie. Nearly everything here works so well at crafting this incredibly unique and well-done horror film, from the jaw-dropping and inventive cinematography to the impeccable set design and sound. But that's only a few drops in the bucket of why this film works really well. Zach Cregger's direction is great, yes, but his script is just fantastic. It unconventionally tells an intriguing mystery while masterfully building tension and offering different ways to look at and discuss the roles of men and women in society, along with observations on sexual assault and sexual assault allegations that are unbiased enough without ever feeling like it was beating you over the head with messaging. Cregger's writing turns this film into one that feels like a socially relevant piece of elevated horror, while still allowing for a fun time at the movies, thanks to the way he effortlessly weaves comedy and over-the-top silliness into this terrifying movie. But the script would be nothing without a strong cast to sell it. I've already talked about why Bill Skarsgard is great as Keith, so let's talk about Georgina Campbell as Tess. Campbell gives an incredibly natural performance here, playing into the potential fear that any woman would experience in this situation, while being as polite as possible to Keith. And she really shows a lot of range and personality in the scenes where they're just chatting and getting to know each other. But when the shit goes down and the movie starts to get really fucking scary, Campbell really turns into the star here, while playing into those themes of the roles of men and women that I talked about from the script. She's calm, collected, and even a bit heroic, and when it was all said and done, she ended up being one of my favorite horror protagonists of the year. This leads me to the last character I'll discuss, Justin Long's AJ. You see, where Tess is smart, heroic, and brave, Keith is naive, polite, and a little forceful, AJ is the complete opposite. And he's frankly just an asshole. Long brings a lot of humor into the story with the general air of smug douchiness and his loud, bombastic personality, with one scene in particular involving him and a tape measure, leaving me and the rest of the crowd in my theater holding their sides laughing. But besides the comedy aspect, Long's character also brings in those astute observations of Me Too, like I mentioned earlier, along with observations on toxicity of certain people that hold power over others. But I don't want to go into that too far either, because the culmination of that subplot really informs his character throughout the rest of the movie. Richard Brake is also in this, but I'm not going to spoil how or why. All I'll say is that ever since I saw him in Rob Zombie's 31, he became one of my favorite character actors, especially when it comes to horror. And as usual, he's really creepy and great here. And that rest of the movie, wow. Once the reveal occurs and we all know what's going on here, Cregger and his team quickly turn this from an exercise in horrifying tension into a full-blown 80s horror flick with an up-budget and fantastic effects. It feels like something right out of the Sam Raimi playbook, especially Evil Dead 2, but with plenty of twists, turns, and kind of shocking and gross imagery to help it feel really unique, along with a tongue-in-cheek sense of fun and humor that only complements the scary. Kind of like last year's Malignant, but not as straight up stupid as that movie was. Overall, Barbarian is a fucking ride, and I cannot recommend it enough. I honestly think this movie is destined to become a horror classic, and it begs to be seen with the biggest crowd possible. This is probably the most fun I've had in the theaters at a horror movie in a long time, and that's my review of Barbarian. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, you know exactly what to do. Scroll on down there, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so that you never miss any of my content. And while you're at it, you can also check out my TikTok or Instagram, and the links for those are in the description below. You can also click or tap on these cards here. They'll take you to my review of Fall, or over to my channel where you can check out my movie reviews, my shorts, or just my old shit. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.